Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the UES Valiant. The huge ship floated in space like a metal city. It was the biggest and strongest ship humans had ever built. The year was 2387. Humans had met alien races only 20 years ago, and now they were trying to find their place in the galaxy. The Valiant was not like other ships. It was 15 kilometers long. More than 50,000 people lived and worked inside it. The ship had new technology that other alien races had never seen before. Some aliens were amazed by human inventions. Others were worried about what humans might do with such power. Admiral Lisa Kane had watched over the building of this ship for 5 years. She wanted it to have the best weapons and the fastest engines. The most important part was the quantum jump drive. This machine could make the ship travel faster than light across huge distances. No other race had anything like it. The ship was on a training mission near the edge of known space. Chief Engineer Ben Clark was checking all the systems. Everything looked normal until he saw strange readings on his screens. The quantum drive was showing unusual energy patterns. "Captain, we have a problem," Ben called out. His voice was worried. Dr. Amy Foster ran to the engine control station. She was the smartest scientist on the ship. After looking at the readings, she shook her head. "The quantum field is unstable," she said. "We should not use the drive right now. It could be dangerous." Captain Morrison nodded. He trusted his crew. But then Lieutenant Commander Paul Harris ran onto the bridge. His face was pale with fear. "Captain, we are getting emergency signals from Colony 7, Paul said. "They are under attack. Unknown ships are bombing the planet. Thousands of people will die if we don't help them." Morrison looked at the star map. Colony 7 was 3 days away using normal engines. By then, everyone on the planet would be dead. Only the quantum drive could get them there in time. "How dangerous is it to use the drive?" Morrison asked Dr. Foster. "I don't know," she replied. "The energy readings are unlike anything I have seen before. We might lose the ship." Morrison looked around the bridge. His crew was waiting for his decision. Through the windows he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, human families were dying. Children were crying for help. He had sworn to protect all humans, no matter the cost. "Ben, prepare the quantum drive," Morrison ordered. "Sir, it might not be safe," Ben warned. "Those are our people out there," Morrison said firmly. "We don't leave humans behind." The crew worked quickly. Alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Everyone knew something big was happening. In the lower decks, soldiers checked their weapons. In the medical bay, doctors prepared for wounded colonists. In the fighter bays, pilots warmed up their small ships. Dr. Foster watched her instruments carefully. The quantum field was getting more unstable. Strange colors danced across her screens. She had never seen anything like it. "Energy building to critical levels," she announced. "All hands, prepare for quantum jump," Morrison said over the ship's communication system. The Valiant's huge engines began to glow. Space around the ship started to bend and twist. Reality itself seemed to stretch, like rubber. Other ships in the area moved away quickly. Even the aliens had never seen a quantum jump before. Meanwhile, at Colony 7, the attack was getting worse. Alien ships with strange designs were destroying buildings. The colonists had no weapons that could fight back. They sent desperate messages into space, hoping someone would hear them. The attacking aliens belonged to the Corvan Horde, a savage race that enjoyed destroying weaker civilizations. They had been watching humans for months, waiting for the right time to strike. They thought humans were too weak to fight back. "The human ship is gone," one Corvan commander told his fleet. "Now we can take their colonies one by one." But the Corvan were wrong. The Valiant was coming. Back on the Supercarrier, the quantum drive reached full power. The ship was surrounded by a bubble of twisted space. Dr. Foster's instruments went crazy. Numbers flashed across her screens too fast to read. "Something is wrong," she shouted. "The quantum field is collapsing." "Can we stop it?" Morrison asked. "No, sir. We are committed now." The Valiant began to shake. Coffee cups fell from tables. People held on to their seats. The lights flickered on and off. Outside the windows, the stars started to stretch into long lines of light. Jump in 3 seconds, Ben announced. 2, 1, jump. The ship disappeared in a flash of brilliant white light. The explosion was so bright that it could be seen from nearby planets. When the light faded, the Valiant was gone. Only small pieces of metal floated where the great ship had been. The other human ships in the area searched for survivors. They found nothing. No escape pods, no life signs, no trace of the 50,000 people who had been aboard. "The Valiant is lost," the search commander reported to Earth. "All hands presumed dead." The news traveled quickly through human space. The loss of their greatest ship was a disaster. Admiral Kane received the report in her office on Earth. She sat down heavily in her chair. Jake Morrison had been like a son to her. Now he was gone, along with the best crew in the human fleet. "How will we tell their families?" she asked her. Assistant, the alien races also heard about the Valiant's destruction. The Zephyrian Empire, humanity's biggest enemy, celebrated the news. The Nexus Confederation, cold and calculating, began making new plans to take human territory. "The humans have lost their strongest ship," General Vextar told his officers. "Now we can push them back to their home planet." But far away, in a place where space and time worked differently, the Valiant still existed. The ship had not been destroyed. It had been thrown into a realm beyond normal reality. Captain Morrison and his crew were alive, but they were about to face challenges that would test them like never before. The galaxy thought humanity's greatest weapon was gone forever. They were wrong. The Valiant would return, but when it did, it would be more powerful than anyone could imagine. 3 months after the Valiant disappeared, the first attacks began. Zephyrian ships attacked a small human mining station near the Outer Rim. 20,000 people lived there. They had no way to defend themselves without the Valiant's protection. "Commander," Steve Walsh got the emergency call on Earth. He had been Captain Morrison's second in command, but he was on leave when the Valiant vanished. Now he was the highest-ranking officer left in the human fleet. "Sir, the mining station is gone," the communication officer reported. "No survivors." Steve closed his eyes. He felt sick. These people had died because he wasn't strong enough to protect them. The human fleet had 12 smaller ships, but none of them could match the Valiant's power. "Send all available ships to patrol the outer colonies," Steve ordered. "We have to protect what we can." But it was not enough. General Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire saw humanity's weakness. His race was like giant lizards with sharp teeth and cruel eyes. They enjoyed war and destruction. For years, they had been afraid of human technology. Now they saw their chance. "The human supercarrier is destroyed," Vextar told his war council. "Their defenses are broken. We will take their colonies one by one." The Zephyrian attacks came every few weeks. They would hit a human outpost, destroy everything, then disappear before help could arrive. Each attack killed thousands of people. Each attack made humans weaker. On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, Dr. Helen Cross worked day and night in her laboratory. She was trying to rebuild the quantum drive technology that had been lost with the Valiant. The problem was that all the blueprints and research data had been on the ship. "I need more power for the tests," she told her assistant, Dr. Frank Miller. "Helen, you have been working for 18 hours straight," Frank said. "You need to rest." "People are dying out there," Helen replied. "Every day we don't have this technology, more colonies fall." She had tried hundreds of different designs. Some exploded. Some did nothing. Some created small tears in space that scared everyone in the lab, but none of them worked like the original quantum drive. Admiral Kane looked older every day. The stress of losing so many people was killing her slowly. She sat in meeting after meeting, trying to figure out how to save humanity with ships and weapons that were not strong enough. "We have lost 12 colonies this year," she told President Maria Santos during a video call from Earth. "The people are losing faith," President Santos replied. "They want to know why we can't protect them. They want to know why we went into space if we couldn't handle the dangers." "We need more ships," Kane said. "We need better weapons." "We need the Valiant back," Santos said quietly. But the Valiant was gone. Everyone believed that. The wreckage had been studied by the best scientists. There was no doubt that the great ship had been destroyed. The Nexus Confederation made things worse in a different way. These aliens looked like tall, thin humans with pale skin and huge black eyes. They were very smart but had no emotions. They saw everything as a business deal. Human trade value has decreased by 60%, Nexus Ambassador Krell announced at the Galactic Council. We must adjust our agreements to reflect their reduced capabilities. This meant that humans had to pay more for alien technology and weapons. They got less money for the things they sold. The Nexus Confederation was slowly strangling human space through economics. Young human officers tried to fight back with new ideas. Captain Susan Lee created hit-and-run tactics that used small, fast ships. Lieutenant Commander Paul Jenkins developed new ways to hide human bases from alien sensors. We can't fight them head-to-head, Susan explained to her pilots. But we can hurt them and run away before they can catch us. Her tactics worked sometimes. Human fighters would attack. Zephyrian supply ships then escape into asteroid fields where the big alien ships couldn't follow. But it was like fighting a forest fire with a water gun. Paul's hiding techniques helped protect some human bases. He used old mining equipment to dig hideouts deep underground. He taught colonists how to make their settlements look abandoned. From space. If they can't find us, they can't kill us, Paul told the colonists on New Texas. We just have to be smarter than them. But being smart was not enough. The aliens had too many ships and too many weapons. Every year, humanity lost more territory. Every year, fewer human children were born in the colonies. Everyone was scared. The worst part was that other alien races stopped respecting humans. The Galactic Council meetings became painful to watch. Human representatives would speak, but nobody listened anymore. The humans are a dying race, Ambassador Threx of the Centauri Republic said during one meeting. Perhaps it is time to discuss how to divide their remaining territory. They had their chance, added General Vextar. They were strong for a moment, but now they are weak. The galaxy belongs to the strong. On Earth, families mourned their lost relatives. Parents said goodbye to children who joined the space fleet, knowing they might never return. The dream of human expansion across the galaxy was becoming a nightmare. Dr. Helen Cross continued her experiments on Titan. After 15 years of work, she was close to a breakthrough. Her quantum field generators could create small jumps through space. But they were nothing compared to what the Valiant had been able to do. Maybe Captain Morrison's ship wasn't destroyed, she said to Frank one night. Maybe it was transported somewhere else. Helen, you need to accept reality, Frank replied. The Valiant is gone. Morrison is dead. We have to move forward. But Helen couldn't give up hope. Somewhere in her heart, she believed that Jake Morrison and his crew were still alive. She believed they would come back someday. She just hoped it would be before humanity disappeared completely from the galaxy. The 20th anniversary of the Valiant's loss was approaching. Most humans had given up hope. They were preparing for the end of their space civilization. They were preparing to retreat back to Earth and hide from the galaxy forever. They had no idea that their greatest ship was about to return in a way that would shake the entire galaxy. On a cold morning in March 2407, exactly 20 years after the Valiant disappeared, something impossible happened. Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha 7 detected a massive energy signature approaching human space. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was drinking coffee when her instruments went crazy. Numbers flashed across her screens faster than she could read them. Warning alarms started ringing throughout the small station. What is that thing? She whispered to herself. The object was huge, bigger than any ship ever built. It was moving, at speeds that should have been impossible. The energy readings made no sense. Sarah had never seen anything like it in her 10 years of monitoring space. She sent an emergency message to Earth. Unknown massive object approaching Sol system. Energy signature off the charts. Request immediate instructions. Admiral Kane, now 72 years old and walking with a cane, received the message in her office. Her hair was completely white, and her face showed the stress of 20 years of losing battles. But when she saw the energy readings, something stirred in her heart. Get me Dr. Helen Cross on Titan, she ordered her assistant. And patch me through to all our remaining ships. Dr. Helen was in her laboratory when the call came. She was older now, with gray streaks in her hair, but her eyes still burned with determination. When she saw the energy readings, she dropped her coffee cup. "It's impossible," she said, "but these readings match our old quantum drive signatures." "You think it could be them?" Admiral Kane asked. "I don't know," Helen replied, "but we need to be ready for anything." Commander Steve Walsh, now an admiral himself, ordered all human ships to defensive positions around Earth. Nobody knew if this unknown object was friend or enemy. After 20 years of attacks, humans had learned to expect the worst. The object continued to approach. As it got closer, long-range cameras began to pick up details. The ship was enormous, at least twice the size of the original Valiant. Strange. Patterns covered its hull and energy fields surrounded it like a glowing aurora. "It's definitely artificial," reported Captain Susan Lee from her flagship. "But the design is unlike anything in our databases." The Zephyrian Empire also detected the approaching object. General Vextar, now older but still cruel, ordered his fleet to investigate. He thought it might be a new human weapon, and he wanted to destroy it before it could threaten his empire. "All ships, move to intercept," Vextar commanded. "If the humans have built a new supercarrier, we will destroy it like we destroyed their colonies." 12 Zephyrian warships moved toward the unknown object. They were large, powerful vessels armed with plasma cannons and fusion missiles. Vextar was confident they could handle any human ship, but as the Zephyrian fleet approached, something strange happened. The unknown ship stopped moving. Energy readings spiked beyond measurement. Then a voice came over all communication channels in the solar system. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Valiant, requesting permission to return to Earth." The words sent shockwaves through human space. Jake Morrison was supposed to be dead. The Valiant was supposed to be destroyed, but that voice was unmistakable. Admiral Kane had known Morrison for 30 years. She would recognize his voice anywhere. "Jake?" she whispered. "Is it really you?" "Hello, Lisa," Morrison's voice replied. "We have a lot to talk about." The Zephyrian ships continued their attack run. Vextar didn't care who was speaking. He saw an enemy ship and he intended to destroy it. "Fire all weapons," he ordered. Dozens of plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the Valiant, but they never reached their target. The energy fields around the ship absorbed every attack without even flickering. The weapons that had destroyed human colonies for 20 years were completely useless. "Impossible," Vexatar snarled. "No ship can survive that much firepower." Morrison's voice came over the Zephyrian communication system. "General Vexatar, your war with humanity is over. Withdraw your ships, or I will be forced to disable them." "IQ, do not take orders from dead humans," Vextar replied. "All ships prepare for another attack." The Valiant's response was swift and precise. Beams of pure energy reached out and touched each Zephyrian ship. The weapons did no damage, but suddenly, every Zephyrian vessel stopped working. Their engines shut down. Their weapons went offline. Their life support systems switched to emergency power. "Your ships are disabled but intact," Morrison announced. "Your crews are safe. Do not force me to take stronger action." General Vextar stared at his dead control panels in shock. In 30 seconds, his entire fleet had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. He had never seen technology like this. The Valiant continued toward Earth. As it got closer, human observers could see the changes. The ship was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and move. Sections of the hull appeared to be made from materials that didn't exist in normal space. "Jake, what happened to you out there?" Admiral Kane asked over a private channel. "We were pulled into a wormhole," Morrison replied. "But it wasn't just a wormhole through space. It was a wormhole through time and dimensions. We spent 20 years subjective time in a region where the laws of physics work differently." Dr. Helen Cross listened to every word. As a scientist, she was fascinated by the implications. "What did you find there?" "We found the ruins of civilizations that existed before our galaxy was formed," Morrison said. "We found technology that makes our quantum drive look like a stone axe. And we found threats that make the Zephyrian Empire look like children playing with toys." As the Valiant approached Earth's orbit, other alien races began to take notice. The Nexus Confederation sent observer ships to monitor the situation. The Centauri Republic called emergency sessions of their government. Word spread throughout. The galaxy that the humans lost Supercarrier had returned. But it wasn't just the ship that had changed. Morrison explained that during their 20 years in the alternate dimension, they had rescued survivors from dozens of extinct civilizations. The Valiant now carried not just 50,000 humans, but also representatives of races that existed nowhere else in the known galaxy. "We are no longer just a human ship," Morrison said. "We are an ark, carrying the last remnants of civilizations that were destroyed by forces beyond imagination." Dr. Amy Foster, Morrison's chief scientist, appeared on the communication screen. She looked older, but her eyes burned with new knowledge. "The technology we have discovered will change everything. We can protect not just humanity, but the entire galaxy from threats that most races don't even know exist." Admiral Kane felt hope for the first time in 20 years. The Valiant had returned, and it was more powerful than ever. But she also sensed that humanity was about to face challenges that would make the Zephyrian War look small. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had not just survived their 20-year ordeal. They had evolved into something far more dangerous, and far more necessary than anyone could have imagined. 1 week after the Valiant's return, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every major alien race gathered on the neutral station Harmony Prime. The news of humanity's supercarrier had spread throughout the galaxy, and everyone wanted answers. General Vextar arrived with his ship still damaged from the encounter with the Valiant. His pride was wounded worse than his fleet. For 20 years, he had dominated human space. Now, a single human ship had made his entire armada look helpless. "The humans have violated galactic law," Vextar declared to the Council. "They possess weapons that are too dangerous. They must surrender this ship immediately." Ambassador Krell of the Nexus Confederation studied the data his observers had collected. The energy readings from the Valiant made no sense according to known physics. His logical mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. "The humans have clearly discovered new technology," Krell said in his emotionless voice. "We must determine if this poses a threat to galactic stability." Captain Morrison requested permission to address the Council. He arrived in a small shuttle, accompanied by Dr. Amy Foster and Chief Engineer Ben Clark. All three looked older and carried themselves with the confidence of people who had seen things others could not imagine. The council chamber fell silent as Morrison walked to the central platform. He looked around at the alien representatives who had dismissed humanity as a dying race. Now they watched him with fear and curiosity. 20 years ago, my ship and crew were pulled into a dimensional rift, Morrison began. We were thrown into a region of space that exists between realities. We thought we would die there. Instead, we discovered that our galaxy is just a small island in an ocean of cosmic threats. He activated a holographic display that showed images from the Valiant's journey. The aliens gasped as they saw massive structures floating in twisted space, machines the size of solar systems and creatures that fed on entire star clusters. "These are the Devourers," Morrison continued. "They are ancient machines created by a civilization that died billions of years ago. They move through dimensions, consuming everything in their path. They have already destroyed thousands of galaxies." The council members whispered among themselves in fear. Ambassador Threx of the Centauri Republic raised his hand to speak. "If these threats are real, why haven't we seen them?" Threx asked. Dr. Foster stepped forward. "Because our galaxy has been protected by dimensional barriers," she explained. "But those barriers are weakening. Our instruments detect at least 3 breach points where the Devourers could enter our reality." She showed star charts marking the danger zones. 2 of the breach points were near the edges of known space. The third was uncomfortably close to the Nexus Confederation's home system. "We estimate that the barriers will collapse completely within 50 years, Foster continued. "When that happens, everything in this galaxy will be destroyed unless we are prepared to defend ourselves." General Vextar slammed his fist on his table. "I do not believe these human lies. They create imaginary threats to justify their new weapons. Morrison looked directly at the Zephyrian general. Would you like to see for yourself, General? I can show you a small dimensional rift. You can send a probe through and see what waits on the other side. Vextar's eyes widened. He had expected Morrison to back down, not offer proof. You would do this? The danger is real, Morrison replied. And it threatens all of us equally. Zephyrians, humans, Nexus Centauri. The Devourers don't care about our politics, they only know how to destroy. The Council agreed to Morrison's demonstration. 3 days later, the Valiant opened a small dimensional rift near the edge of the Zephyrian territory. General Vextar personally supervised the launch of an automated probe. The probe transmitted for exactly 17 seconds before something grabbed it. The final images showed mechanical tentacles the size of battleships dragging the probe toward a structure that hurt to look at. Then the transmission ended. By the old gods, Vextar whispered. It's real. The demonstration changed. Everything. Suddenly, the Valiant's advanced weapons didn't seem threatening, they seemed necessary. The galactic balance of power shifted not because humanity had returned as conquerors, but because they had become the galaxy's protectors. Ambassador Krell's logical mind quickly calculated the new reality. If the humans can defend against these Devourers, then cooperation with them becomes our highest priority. We need to share information, Morrison told the Council. The Valiant carries survivors from 63 extinct civilizations. Their knowledge, combined with what each of your races knows about defense and technology, might be enough to protect our galaxy. Over the following months, everything changed. The Zephyrian Empire signed a peace treaty with humanity. General Vextar, humbled by the sight of true cosmic threats, offered his fleets to help defend the galaxy. The Nexus Confederation shared their advanced computing systems to help analyze the Devourer threat. Dr. Helen Cross finally got to meet her hero, Dr. Amy Foster. Working together, they began developing new defensive technologies. The quantum drive technology that had seemed so advanced 20 years ago was now just the beginning. We can create shields that exist in multiple dimensions, Foster explained to the combined research team. We can build weapons that fire through space-time itself, but we need every race working together. Chief Engineer Ben Clark established training programs to teach alien engineers about the new technologies. His workshop aboard the Valiant became a meeting place for the brightest minds from across the galaxy. The Devourers use our own physics against us, Ben explained to his students, but we can learn to work outside normal physics. We can become something they haven't seen before. The Valiant became the headquarters for the new Galactic Defense Alliance. Ships from every major race began to gather around the massive human vessel. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers worked side by side, preparing for a war that would determine the fate of everything they knew. President Santos, now in her second term, addressed the people of Earth with hope in her voice for the first time in 20 years. Our children will grow up in a galaxy where humanity stands as guardians, not victims, she said. The Valiant has shown us that we can overcome any challenge if we face it together. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, looking out at the fleet that surrounded his ship. Zephyrian destroyers flew alongside human fighters. Nexus research vessels worked with Centauri battleships. The galaxy had united in a way nobody thought possible. Do you think we can do it? Dr. Foster asked him. Can we really stop the Devourers? Morrison smiled, thinking of all the impossible things they had already survived. Amy, 20 years ago we were lost in a dimension that shouldn't exist. We survived that. We rescued entire civilizations. We brought hope back to humanity. I think we can handle whatever comes next. The Valiant had returned to shake the galaxy, but in the end, it had done something more important. It had given the galaxy a chance to save itself.